Go. Hello, Truth Warriors. Our returning guest today never fails to impress. He's on the money, he's into drag and strips, a silver bull from Bears, and his information is as supercharged as the COPO. So, here today, we're going to go that extra quarter mile with the Robin Hood of Wall Street, the man who has kept us on track now for over a decade by exposing the banksters for who they truly are. A writer for the Trends Journal, the driving force behind Traders' Choice, and the MMRI Risk Indicator. It is, as always, a great pleasure to have my daily advisor back with me, the one and only Mr. Gregory Mannarino. Hello, sir. How are you doing? And welcome back to the Atlantic Underground podcast.
Wow, and thank you. I don't know how to follow that up, but I appreciate it very much.
No problem. Greg, please tell us what your typical day looks like.
A typical day, well, other than having an exorbitant amount of coffee in my daily routine, no. With regard to the market, it's very, very simple, man. I follow one thing pretty much and one thing only, and that is the driver behind all this. That is the skyrocketing global debt, what central banks are doing, more specifically looking at the debt market, the 10-year yield, and then everything else kind of falls into place after that. That's really the truth. Everybody, you watch the mainstream media and they're telling, as usual, directing people in the wrong places. Not only are they outwardly lying to us and distracting us and deceiving us from every angle you could dream about, what they do, and I find it very disturbing, is they want people to focus on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is just 30 companies. Okay, they don't even want you to look at the S&P or the broader market, but they don't talk about the driver. The driver here is the debt market. It is a hyper bubble of epic proportions. At the same time, we have a crisis of liquidity. In other words, even though the debt is surging higher every moment of every day, there's not enough of debt in the system to provide enough liquidity for it to function. So liquidity is drying up. And we have a big problem facing all of us right now. But that's how my day starts. Really, I get on my app here, I look at the debt market, and I say, okay, this is what's going on. And I look for fluctuations there. If I see a big move, I try to evaluate what's going on, what's happening, and then what's more than likely going to happen as a fallout from where the 10-year yield specifically, because it's the benchmark here in the United States, is how it's driving the price action of the market. Then I look at secondarily, number one, that market. Number two, I look at the US dollar on a relative strength basis. You weigh these things against each other, and you could get a very good idea as to what the market's thinking, pretty much. I mean, for example, let's say you have a 10-year yield which is flat, not doing anything, but all of a sudden you see a knee-jerk higher in the relative strength of the dollar. That would tell me that there is a little fear in the market and we could expect things to fall under some pressure. If I see, for example, the 10-year yield rising, I mean, we were at 4.71 just last week. Right now, today in the United States, we're at 4.5. So that tells me there's a little bit of relief here in the market. There's a lot of debt buying going on. This is pushing cash back into the stock market. You look at the dollar. If the dollar is coming down at the same time, you have a falling 10-year yield. What does that mean? More than likely, you're going to see stock prices rise. That's kind of like, and this is just part of it, but again, it's multifaceted. You got to take in a lot of information here to come up with a strategy, a counter strategy against what's happening. Okay, we're all under attack. I think that's pretty obvious. Everyone that follows your work and follows my work realizes that. Middle class, we're being systematically eradicated. So we need to take action. We can't just sit back and do nothing. Although shows like yours and mine, I am certain, are somewhat entertaining to people. I don't want them to be entertained. I want them to take action. I want them to think about what's going on and what they need to do. Again, we're being destroyed. This is deliberate. We must do something about it. That's what I think about every day.
Now, every day around 9:30, 10 a.m., we see the gold price drop and then recover. What causes this?
Well, look, man, when you're talking about the price action of gold and silver, even commodities in aggregate, but especially gold and silver, in this environment, which has been going on for quite a long time. It's astonishing. Most people have no idea how it works. Okay, let me outline this just real quick. When you see, for example, let's say gold and or silver take a big hit during the day. We had like a 5% drop in silver just a couple of weeks ago in one day. What does that mean? Does that mean that physical metal has actually changed hands? Absolutely not. This is the paper derivative being dumped onto the market. And the astonishing thing here, and it's upside down, is the hard asset is deriving value. I'm using that word on purpose, deriving from the derivative. The paper market is a derivative. Meanwhile, it's upside down. This is how institutions like JP Morgan, who is the biggest rigger of precious metals on the planet, and they all do it, but none more so than JP Morgan. Okay, been at this for a really, really long time. They dump the paper onto the market. Okay, this is not physical metal, so just ignore it. Again, it's a crazy upside down. It's like, for example, and I'll say what I've been telling people for years. It's like Apple stock, the derivative of Apple, or the option deriving value from a derivative as opposed to from the actual asset. It's upside down, and this is how they keep their stranglehold on metals. Let them continue playing their game. We just found out this morning, front page of Market Watch, whatever the guy's name was, I can't even recall right now, saying, people shouldn't be holding gold right now. It's overvalued. Based on what? Skyrocketing global debt. You got to be nuts. I mean, but what else did you expect from these propaganda ministries that all they do is lie to you, distract you, and then people get worried when I see a headline like that. I realize all of a sudden I'm going to get bombarded. Oh, Greg, did you see this? So I nipped it in the bud right this morning and said, I called this guy out. He doesn't explain. If you read the article, how is he gauging, or anyone gauging, the value here of precious metals? And I believe these are the most undervalued assets on the planet right now. Silver, number one, gold, number two.
Yeah.
And I look at this from many perspectives, but if you look at global debt surging at its fastest pace ever in history, you got to be on the opposite side of that trade. And the only way to do that is to be in real money, which is gold and silver. It's been real money for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And it's not going to change just because the central banker tells us they're not real money. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. Let's take a look at something interesting, Greg. A break from what we normally do.
There you go.
What do we know about this here?
That's my COPO Camaro, man. It's a wicked machine here. I broke my blower a couple of weeks back. Right now, currently, unfortunately, it needs a new blower. It needs a whole new blower drive. It took out a lot of parts, unfortunately, but that's one serious car. Runs a quarter mile in about 8 seconds. Right now, it's got about 1,200 horsepower. It's going to come back with about 1,300 horsepower. And I'm looking to get this thing maybe into the sevens. And we'll see where that goes. Yeah, well, this is a long stage, huh? Let's see where this goes here. There you go, gone. Look at that. Oh, that guy didn't know what happened to him. That's
He gave up.
He was like, "What?" Oh, that's funny.
That thing certainly moves. Yeah, that's quite.
It moves. My best run in that car, a quarter mile, 834, 163.7. And I'm looking to go faster than that soon.
Yeah. Have you got to do any more upgrades to it to get more power and more control of the car?
Well, since the blower locked up on me and it caused a lot of damage, unfortunately, it slung the belt off at about 8,000 RPM. It ripped through my transmission lines. It pulled out, it hit my wiring harness, damaged that too. So the blower I'm putting on there is a better blower. So it's more efficient. It should give me some more power. I'm looking forward to that. I really am. I just love that feeling of acceleration. That thing hits you so hard when you come off the line. For a moment, it's really the truth, right? For a moment, my vision goes a little blurry, from that shock of leaving the line like that. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it looks like great fun. Now, have you seen the movie The Big Short?
Yes.
Are we in the same scenario now? And if Michael Burry did the same thing now, would he actually lose everything because there would be nobody left to pay him out?
You know, look, the situation that we're in now has many similarities to what happened back then. And we did what people are losing sight of, and they don't understand. And if you talk to most people about what was the big issue with regard to the meltdown of the market, including the subprime market and the whole issue with the debt market at that time, is the fact that it really wasn't, and everyone was fixated on the stock market because that's what the mainstream media was telling you to look at, just like they're doing now. But the issue came down to liquidity, like we have now. The real reason, what really was the issue back then was the credit markets, or the flow of credit, started to lock up. And this is what people go, well, hold on a minute. Why? People don't even ask, as a matter of fact, why was it that they had to introduce billions of dollars into the system here to get it fired back up again? Because that mechanism, that with the credit markets locking up, which we're going to see again, okay, but on a much, much grander scale, means that transactions were on the verge of stopping. The first sign here, and we should be looking for that now, is interbusiness lending. Once that starts to dry up, and we're not actually seeing that just yet, we're seeing a consolidation of the system. Banks are consolidating. The smaller, the regional institutions are collapsing, and they're being absorbed by the larger institutions. And this is a mechanism here because they're going to roll out a new system on us, and they got to consolidate the power. But what we're going to face again is a flow of credit issue. Like I have been explaining to people for a decade here now, the problem underlying this entire thing is the issue of debt or liquidity. It must be fueled greater and greater and greater every day. It can't stop. The moment that this mechanism stops, we have a liquidity crisis. And that's why we're seeing this issue now with surging inflation here. Central banks pumping the system. As a matter of fact, I just did some research into this today. If you look back in just the last 6 months of what the Federal Reserve has done, on average, they have increased the M2, the money supply, by 1 billion per day. And this isn't because GDP is fantastic or business activity is improving. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. So every single day, on average, for the last 6 months, and see, this is hidden in plain sight, this kind of stuff. And they urge people to use the Federal Reserve's website here. They put this information there out knowing people aren't going to look at it. People have no idea what's going on. But these are things that they hide in plain sight. So on average, every day, just for the last 6 months, the Fed has increased $1 billion a day, more. They created out of nothing. They just added to a digital screen. Anyway, that mechanism here has created the situation we have now globally: surging inflation in an environment where the economy is contracting globally at its fastest pace we've ever seen. It's an amazing paradox to think about. Even though most people, I think, who follow our work would realize that think that the world is awash in debt, and it is, but there's not enough of it. To keep the system going, the Fed has to pump and pump. Central banks have to pump and pump and pump. And what does that do? It's massively currency negative, purchasing power negative. So all of this talk about, look, it should be no surprise to anyone that just the Federal Reserve, for example, here, how is it? Think about this. They have been 100% wrong. Not one time has their projection been correct about inflation moving forward. It was transitory. It was temporary. Remember all that? That's gone now. But every projection they've done has been wrong. Is this deliberate that they're feeding us fake information? Of course it is. Okay. They can't let people understand that the mechanism must continue. The effect of devaluing the currency is going to continue to a greater degree for everybody around this world that's living, unfortunately, under the rulership of a central bank. As you can tell, I detest central banking more than any other thing on this planet. It's a mechanism that makes us slaves to their system. Until we can eradicate central banks, we can never be free. I don't care where you live in the world. If you are living under the rulership of a central bank, you're just pretty much done. And the illusion of freedom is going to be shown to you, but you're not free to do anything. You're free to participate in their system. If you try to go around their system, what are they going to do? They're going to lock you up. They don't want you in gold or silver, crypto, Bitcoin, nothing. Dollars. That's it. Every single one of our pretty much 98% of our representatives here in the United States and around the world, they want you in a central bank issued note. That should tell you something.
Yeah. Now you moved from Vegas. Why Florida?
You know, I wanted to be near my family here. My family doesn't live in Florida. Most of my family is still back up in New York, but it was kind of a commute from over there. And just I didn't Vegas was changed dramatically. We had an influx of people from California like you wouldn't believe,
Yeah.
and it really created an issue of, I think, overcrowding. And for example, that used to take 20 minutes to go anywhere you wanted in Vegas. Then it became 30 minutes, then it became 45, then an hour. So I just like, you know what, just enough is enough. And at that time, I was taking care of my best friend in the world, the Pearl Harbor survivor, you probably know. And you know, we couldn't leave the area until Edward passed on, and he passed on at the age of 99. 4 days after his 99th-year-old birthday. You believe that? Anyway, so once he passed away, we were like, you know what? Maybe it's time for a whole new thing. So
Yeah.
that's why we moved out over here to Florida, to be honest. There's no real big secret behind it here. And I'll tell you something, I've found living here in Florida, a lot of people think the way we do. So that is an interesting phenomenon. Like my neighbors here, they seem to get it. When I was in Vegas, most people were oblivious. Here, I would say half of them get it. Some people have no idea, and then you present them with information like this, and they look at you like you're from Mars or whatever, and they have no idea what's going on here. Anyway, but what else would you expect? I really believe there's a natural selection process going on. I've been telling people this for years. Some people like you, me, the people who follow our work, can see a little more clearly. They're not indoctrinated fully into the system. They see the truth, and it's not hard. Once you have that revelation, my mom is a classic example. She used to think I was crazy. I was, Greg, no, you can't be that. And then all of a sudden she had a revelation. And now that she's had it, she can't unsee it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's crazy.
A Standard and Poor's and Moody's still selling ratings for fees. Is there now any kind of regulator oversight of this?
Wait, I missed half of what you said.
Yeah, Standard and Poor's and Moody's.
Oh.
Are they still selling ratings for fees, or is there now a regulatory oversight to that?
It's all fake, man. It's just, and they're going to look past everything just like they did last time. This is all a grand deception, unfortunately, for the people. And this is why people have no idea what's going on. Most people watch the mainstream. They don't follow shows like this. So they float out these people who all they do is read scripts. They're told what to say. And the proof of that is if you watch the mainstream media outlets and you flip through them around the same time, they're all covering the same story in the same format, almost word by word by word. So they're being fed a script. They're told this is what you're going to say now. And, it gets the people locked in. And, there used to be a time where these mainstream media outlets used to they used to have an element of truth to them. They used to be held to account. Now there is no holding of account. And there's no holding of account across the board. Henceforth, why? You hear the lies and the propaganda and the distractions and the deceptions. Does anyone believe that for example, any central bank, they send out their spokesperson, whether it's a chairperson or a member of the central bank, and they can sit there and bold-faced lie. There's no accountability. No one holds them to account. And that bothers me because there should be accountability. The people have been indoctrinated in mass. And unfortunately, people are falling through that trap door. They believe what they hear. They don't consider the fact that what's going on and will continue to get worse is deliberate. They think this is just a comedy of errors. What got us here was just a comedy of errors. It has nothing to do with being deliberate. Going back to the Federal Reserve. How can they justify being wrong 100%? No one is right 100% of the time, but if you study something, more than likely you're going to get it right mostly. How can they be wrong 100% of the time? Unless it's deliberate. It has to be. So this is what I'm talking about. There is zero accountability, and that's how they can get away with it.
Yeah. Now, every time we do a podcast together, I get the same shit disturbers commenting or messaging me about you being in the Masons. Can we lay these people's fears to rest and tell them what your involvement was?
First of all, let me say I am no longer a Mason anymore. But people have no idea. People are always looking for a scapegoat, whether it's Biden's fault or Trump's fault or it's the Masons' fault or whoever's fault or whatever's going on here. Let me tell you something about Masonry, what people don't know. There are no secrets. The secrets are there is no secrets. The secrets in Masonry come down to one thing: modes of recognition. How one Mason can recognize another in the dark and the light. That's it. It comes down to a series of words. It comes down to a series of handshakes. That's it. The secret is there's no secret. Look, I enjoyed the fellowship. I really did. Like, the people getting together and like-minded people coming together and talking about things. And for the most part, they were like that. But it was about, what are we going to eat tonight, everybody? My lodge used to meet every Friday. And we'd always used to wonder, hey, I wonder what's on the menu. As part of your dues, you got a free meal out of it. And a lot of other things, look, there's a lot of good things that I'm not going to sit here and badmouth them, because Freemasonry is a very charitable organization. They do a lot of charity work. My lodge did a lot of charity work here. We used to raise money for all kinds of things, children in need, homelessness and stuff like that. But the secret of Freemasonry, at least at the level I was at, and I was like, okay, where's the big secret, everyone? And I'm sitting here, I'm trying to, there isn't, and I urge people, if you don't believe me, go to your local lodge and meet these guys and see if they're any smarter than you are. Do they know any big secret that you don't? How about they don't? It's the truth. It's something that it ran its course for me, and there was a lot of reasons why I stepped out of it. Whatever, but that's really the bottom line. The secret is there isn't any great secret there, and anything you want to find out about Freemasonry, it's online. All the rituals, all the words, all the handshakes, all the words, everything. It's available to anybody. So look it up for yourself. Don't take Greg Mannarino's word for it.
Now, some US states are putting bills forward for gold and silver to be a transactable and legally recognized currency. What does this mean for the sales, pricing, and the future of metals?
Well, look, I mean, what are they going to give you? I wish people. How do I say this another way? I wish people would start to transact on their own. Okay, why do we need their permission? Why do we need their permission? As an example, I have a couple of guitars sitting around here, or my cars, or whatever it might be. If I were to sell it, I would gladly take gold or silver for it. Why do we have to transact in their system? Look, it's an illusion, people. You want to know what the real secrets are? You're living in an illusion across the board. We are forced to commit to their system. Why do we do that? Why do we need permission from the state or permission from anyone? No, we do not need that. Once we realize that we are our own sovereign entities and we can do whatever the freak we want to. So if you want to transact in whatever you want to transact in, well, then do it. You want to barter, do that. Unfortunately, these stores here, they're not going to accept gold and or silver, but there are probably some mom and pop shops that would. And I'll tell you something else. Why are we, well, unfortunately, this is the way this is evolving here, is being that you go into a major corporation here, you're swiping your card or whatever it might be. But what about supporting local businesses, mom and pop shops? You remember these kinds of things? I guarantee you, if you were to frequent a mom and pop shop and you were to speak to the owner or the manager or whoever it might be and say, listen, I'm going to pay you an ounce of gold, or which you have to get a lot for that, or a few ounces of silver. If I owned a small business, I would gladly accept that. Why can't we start to do that? Because again, people have been so freaking indoctrinated, and you can't do this. We're supposed to be a free people. We're supposed to be able to govern ourselves, right? Well, that ain't working out too well, is it? How's it look? Beautiful to you? No. So look, let them do whatever they want to, but I'm going to say this. A central bank, I blame everything on central banks because it's their system that we're forced to live in. Their system, they control the economy, the central banks, they control the markets, they control the financial system as a whole, period, the freaking end. Okay. So sidestep their system, and that's how we will benefit. Otherwise, we're done. Honestly, I don't understand why we need that permission, but central banks are going to fight this tooth and nail. They will not allow us to transact they will kill. We will see development of wars around the world, more war. Look, I urge people to do something else here. Again, all this information is hidden in plain sight. If you look at the Federal Reserve's repo program, the repurchasing agreement that what the central banks did, their repo program, is they were, and they still are to a certain degree, passing vast amounts of cash back and forth between institutions. Why are they doing that? People could sit back and say, well, why is the Federal Reserve, why were they trillions, $3-4 trillion overnight? Now it's tapered down to like half, about maybe $1 trillion, something like that. I haven't followed it in a while, but it's been tapering down dramatically. What are they doing? What's the mechanism behind that? Why are they doing this here? Because it's a trick. It fools the system into thinking it's more liquid than it actually is. As we discussed earlier, we're in a liquidity crisis, a debt crisis, liquidity crisis, the same thing. Now, with regard to that, it should be no surprise, and I'm laughing, but it's pathetic, that we are seeing the outbreak of war, the expansion of war, the propagation of war, the same time the Fed is tapering down their repo program. Tapering down here and vastly expanding war. Why? War generates the need. People, listen to what I'm about to tell you, and don't take my word for this either. Please do your own research, okay? No other human endeavor on the planet generates a need for more borrowed dollars than war. So it is no secret that you're seeing war expand as we are doing this, and it's not going to get any better. We're going to see vast expansion of war, again, only for one reason, to pull liquidity into the now. They'll kill whoever they have to kill, millions if they have to keep their stranglehold on we, the people of the planet Earth. And it gets even better than that. If you consider the fact that central banks, I've been telling people this for over a decade, are in a race to the bottom. They're devaluing their currency. The purchasing power is being sucked out. And the more currency they have to create out of nothing to fight wars or fund anything else, again, we don't have it. So the cash has to be made out of nothing. And every time the currency becomes more devalued, the central banks have to create more of it to make up the difference for purchasing power. Let's say, for example, you were buying this chapstick. Yesterday, it cost $1 to buy one. In 5 years, it may take $2. So the Fed, in this case, has to increase the money supply. Henceforth, why? Last month, $1 billion a day. And, people have no idea this is going on. They're being systematically destroyed, and they don't even know it. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
Is everyone that's ignoring what's coming going to wake up one morning and find that the cash and assets within the banks is just gone?
Okay, that is absolutely going to happen here. We are going, that was the issue last time with the liquidity crisis that we were facing, why the mass capital injections into the system. We're going to face that again. But this time here is different. This is not, again, an accident that we are here. Collectively, central banks are working to destroy the current system piece by piece by piece, and they're taking the people down with it. They're going to make this thing around us, and it's going to start in the debt market. It's not going to start in the stock market. Is going to melt down by design. The system is going to collapse, and a new system is going to emerge from that. They already have a new system here, okay? They have to kill the current system first, but it has to get to a point where they have to make people beg for it. They're going to make people get on their knees and beg for help. Oh, what am I going to do? I can't get my kid. Look, a liquidity crisis or a credit freeze means all transactions stop. You go to your bank, your ATMs don't work. You can't get cash out. You can't shop. Unless you have actual cash or you're willing to barter or pay with gold or silver for whatever you want, you ain't getting nothing. Okay. So that's where we're going to end up here, in a full-blown locking up of the system as a lack of liquidity. And this is what they're setting up for. And then when people beg, because what they always do, problem, reaction, solution, problem, liquidity crisis. So then force people to beg for, please help us. Oh, don't worry. We're going to help you, and we're going to do this for you. And then they're going to make themselves look good. But they're the ones that are bringing, you see, look, it's the same institutions that have to be made to look like they're on the side of angels, these central banks here, and they are the enemy. We're not each other's enemy anywhere in the world. I don't care what faith you may be, what color your skin is, whatever you may be. We're not, but they want you to believe we are. So if they could keep people locked into that, then it takes the blame off of them. They're the ones that are setting us all up. They are the ones who are creating these mass distortions in the financial system right now by design, only to bring it down, to issue in a new one, and get us all to beg for it on our knees. That's what they want. And that's unfortunately what they're going to get. How do we know that? Because what are they doing? They're creating slaves to their system more so than ever before with hyper debt. People can't get by anymore. What do we find out here in the United States? I'm sure this is everywhere in the world. Restaurants here in the United States last week are seeing their patronage drop off the charts. I went to a restaurant, 2 restaurants in the past 2 weeks here, and I'm looking around going, it's dead. There is nobody here. And what does that mean? People are going to lose their jobs. These places are going to close here. But our economy is really, really strong. You know it is, because that's what they're telling you. Biden, the creature, is telling people, oh, our economy is the envy of the world. Really? Sure doesn't look like that to me.
No, no. But, you know, if we're aware of an agenda and if we see the central banks manipulating the system to keep it on life support, is this just, you know, so they can pull the plug when they're ready to do so? But if enough people pulled their cash from the banks, the pensions, the 401ks, and other investments now, would we be able to crash the system ourselves and catch them off guard?
I've been telling people that for years. We could take the system back, but there's not enough people. There's not enough of us to do it. And the other thing is, what's happening is people have already run through their savings accounts. That was also reported last week or the week before. The average citizen here in the United States, and I'm certain this is a worldwide phenomenon, has depleted any savings. They're surviving. The phenomenon which is occurring now is very, very sad. It's something I outlined what happened from years ago, that we were going to see the middle class obviously get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. More people are going to fall down to the lower rung of society as they're being made slaves to the system here. So what happens is now these prior members of the middle class who want to maintain the middle class lifestyle, they can't do it anymore. So to maintain the illusion, they're borrowing, they're swiping, and they're borrowing more. And all they're doing is assuring themselves a front seat on the roller coaster ride into, you know, financial obscurity. This is what they're hoping to do. Make people slaves to their system. People, we got to sidestep their system. Look, I tell people, don't keep a single dime in a bank that you don't need to keep in there because we have to transact in their system. Just if we were able to pull our cash, if we had pull our cash day worldwide from these institutions, we could take the system back. It would cause a lot of pain, but I think we could take the system back. But people won't do it. People have no idea. Like I said, for the most part, people don't get it. They don't understand the system is rigged against them and it will get worse from here. They believe, again, that this is just an accident that we are where we are, and it's not. They don't understand who people have been indoctrinated into thinking it's the right wing, it's the left wing, it's the Reds versus the Blues. These are the enemies. No, they're both the same, two wings of the same bird, and those birds don't work for you. They work for the central banks. They're all multimillionaires. So they don't even connect with the average person making an average salary of like 70 grand or whatever the average salary is these days. There's no connection whatsoever. They don't live in the same reality, and they don't care. All they care about is their own agenda. Some people are right now and will be astonishingly rich. Again, this environment is really, really great for the 1% and 2%ers. Everybody else, not so good. The people at the lower rung, they're done already. So what do they got to do? They're raping in the literal sense, whatever's left of the middle class. And this is going to accelerate here moving forward. It's not getting any better. So anyone listening to this who's hoping for some kind of an act of God, ain't happening. Okay. Just take care of yourselves. Realize what you need to do here. Weaponize their system against them. If we know what they want, we know what they're going to do, which we've outlined right here. Take action against it. Don't just sit back and do nothing. Do something. What else can I say?
So who are the IMF, and do they control the central banks?
You know, there's a lot of speculation about that. The International Monetary Fund, International Monetary Fund, you know what their job is? I'm going to tell you what the job of the IMF is. It's to make loans. It's to make loans to nations who are desperate for loans here. And, obviously, the IMF here oversees a lot of the action by central banks. And of course, they're supported by the same institutions here. So their job is essentially to make loans. But if you notice over the past, I don't know, several months, they put out some pretty stark warnings about things. They always do that. Even through the mainstream media, they float out little pieces of truth here and there because it's kind of like a joke. They float out these things, realizing it's going to go in most people's ears and out the other. And then they can say, well, we warned you. Major banks here, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America. Oh, you know, people, things aren't really looking too good. You might want to do this. And then all of a sudden it's gone. So, but if you search the internet, you'll see that, oh, there was a warning this was going to happen. Oh, there was a warning. So they can say, hey, look, you know, we told you that you didn't act. Is that our fault that you didn't act? They always got their ways around it here, unfortunately. But most people, most people take no action. They get up every day. They have their lives are probably very mundane, very pressured, trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to earn money? I can't pay bills. I can't keep up. I can't save any money. I got to put my kids through school. My car needs repair. My house, my roof is leaking. So people can't focus on all of these other things that are going on.
No.
It's a very select few people who have the ability, maybe I should say, and I mean the ability at multiple levels, the ability, maybe the time that they can allot to learning about these kinds of things, and also the ability to comprehend. The ability to comprehend this does require thinking at another level. It really, and most people don't do that, and they know that. The propaganda ministry, those that are falsifying information here, putting out fake news, stuff like that, they know that people aren't going to get it anyway. So, and the other thing that happens, and when you hit people with this kind of stuff, they often don't know how to react to you. And sometimes they get angry. You probably get the same thing as me. A lot of times that you don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. But then they sit back and they say, whoa, if they have a little bit of an intellect, they sit back, they ponder these things, and then all of a sudden they get that revelation. Wait a minute here. Now I actually see what's going on. This is why I have to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. People don't even understand the basics of, let's say, inflation. You have no idea. You and I, it's easy to understand is that the currency is being devalued, but people all of a sudden think that this is worth more money because it's scarce, it's rare, or whatever. Oh, we're going to be facing that too. You see, that's another issue that people need to understand. What they're setting up here is a resource problem, a resource scarcity issue. Basic needs. People are going to be forced, unfortunately, to cope with a scarcity of basic needs. And I would even believe that would come down to things like water, things like that. Whatever they got to do to keep people in a state of fear. Fear is a very, very, very powerful thing. If you can make people afraid of anything, one thing, you can control their minds. It's a very simple psyop that has been used as a weapon against people since time immemorial. And they're utilizing that now as well. Make people afraid. Tell people who they have to hate. Tell people who they have to fear. And then they're done. Then okay, we're done. We can do anything we want now. And unfortunately, we're going to see more of that moving forward. There's just no doubt about it. This is how it's going to play out.
Harry Dent is saying that the housing sector and property values are going to see a 50% decrease. What would this mean for homeowners with a mortgage?
Mortgages ain't going away. And a lot of people write, it's funny, I had that question this morning. Some people wrote to me, hey, Greg, if my bank collapses, does that mean I get to keep my house and I don't owe anything? People write to me all the time about that. I don't know where they get this from. I have no idea, but absolutely not. If your bank goes down, and we're going to see a lot more bank failures moving forward, what happens is the loans that are on a bank's balance sheet, whatever, it gets bought for pennies on the dollar by another institution. And that institution there, what I believe we're going to see with regard to this, again, is a consolidation of the system. Smaller banks, regional banks are going to fail. Or be bought out by the larger institutions who they're in the same boat. You have to understand the larger institutions, going back now quite a while, no loans, no deals, no deposits from the consumer who's done at this point here. The big banks are in the same kind of a boat, although they have a main line to the central banks here. So what they're doing here to make up for that difference is they're going to allow these smaller institutions to implode, buy their assets for pennies on the dollar, including mortgages, okay? And then they will absorb that, and then the people will still owe whatever. But, the terms aren't going to change, but there's no free lunch here. And I know people are looking for that. like the person who wrote to me today, will I have a free and clear house if my bank collapses? Absolutely not.
No.
You will owe and you will pay, or they will throw you out into the street. They will take whatever they can from you, and they don't care. Human life has become worthless at this point. We're a means to an end, unfortunately. This is why we got to come together. I mean, every single Friday, watch my Friday videos. Every one, my post-market video, I tell people 3 things: love each other, care about each other, and be charitable. If we adopted these 3 things, would the world be in the situation that it is right now? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And I also believe that if one person can make a difference in the world, and I believe that they could, imagine what we can do or we're capable of doing collectively, but we can't because they won't allow us to come together. You have people here arming themselves to the teeth, and I am all for being prepared, who are ready to murder and kill whoever they have to. Instead of saying, you know what, I gotta get together with like-minded people so we can support each other when this whole thing comes down. They're thinking, how many people do I have to kill? That's a bad mindset, okay? We need to come together, not kill each other, because that's what they want us to do. There is going to be, and I've been telling people this for years, and I'll tell you right now, a massive reduction in the population of the world. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that that's being set up. Why? Why is that an important component to what they are trying to achieve? It's easier to control a smaller population. It's all about control. Henceforth, the taking down of the current system. Why the current system is coming apart right now. Why we're seeing people being made slaves to the system. Dependency on their system. So it's about control. And people today, unfortunately, are willing to surrender it all so they can be taken care of. People have lost the competitive edge.
Yeah.
Like drag racing. I love to compete. I love that thrill of it, be competing. I want to beat the guy next to me. Just as an example of that. Okay, my last run where I broke the blower, I didn't see the guy next to me and I didn't care. When I left the line on my last run, my car left the line like bat out of hell. I didn't see the guy next to me, but I knew my car, I knew something was wrong with it. But did I come off the throttle? No, because I wanted to beat that guy to the end. I stayed on that thing. I'm watching that tachometer rev to 8 grand. All of a sudden, boom! I was like, okay, I still won. I did win, but I don't know. I'm a very competitive person, and I don't want to be taken care of. I want to take care of myself. I want to take care of the people I care about, and that includes everyone who's watching this video blog. I care about everybody. We need to care about each other. We are not each other's enemies. If you're being told who to hate and where to look, you're being deceived, and that's a terrible thing.
That's it. We all have a common enemy, and it's not each other. And the sooner people realize that, the better. Now, let me get that in. There we go. Our favorite asset.
Love it.
There we go.
Right here.
So,
right here. Got it all over the place.
Yeah. Our favorite asset, silver. Gold is great. And many see Bitcoin as a safe haven. Should Bitcoin be treated very differently, though, than precious metals?
Well, they are different, of course. One you can actually hold in your hand. The other one you have to keep in a wallet somewhere, I do believe, and I've been telling this to people for the long, look, people are free to think whatever they want, but I still believe that the crypto space is massively under-owned at this point. And how do we know that? How does Greg say that the crypto space as a whole is vastly under-owned? In other words, very, very few people own cryptocurrencies. Very, very few. So that tells me that there is obviously, if you consider that, a lot of room for growth here. Okay, and then, I mean, we could break this down even further because the mainstream media wants us to follow the Dow 30 or the 30 Dow companies in the Dow. If you take the entire market capitalization of cryptocurrency, it's about the same as one Dow component. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So again, that tells me it's massively under-owned. The same thing with physical gold and silver. It's astonishing to me how few people actually have this stuff that they have in their own hand. It's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the population. So what does that tell you? It should tell people the obvious. You don't got to be a financial guy, a rocket scientist, a Nobel laureate, or anything here, people. You just got to say, okay, if there is such a low ownership of these assets, well, that means there's a lot of room for growth. Look, and I also tell people, when you have, for example, this morning, this article on Market Watch, the guy had said that gold was overvalued. Based against what? You have to weigh it against something. So the most simple way to look at the value of gold and silver, which I believe most of you people probably have, at least I hope they do, and they should go buy some today, in my view, is look at the Dow, where we are today. Where do you believe the bottom is? What do we know? We know that this market is so detached, the stock market, from reality. There's nothing here. As a matter of fact, I've said this a million times. I'll say it again right here. There's not a single asset today that has a real price discovery mechanism behind it because there's a third player in the room. Let me outline on that real quick what I'm talking about. Generally in a market, whether it's you're buying gold or silver or stock or something else here, there's a buyer on one end and there is a seller on the other end. In this environment, we have a third player, and that is central banks. And they're also involved in every single transaction you make. Even if you go to the store and buy a pack of gum, okay, they're devaluing the currency. It's their currency. They're involved in it anyway. So this has created, and this artificially suppressed rates, this currency devaluation here has created this bizarre environment. Anyway, go get my head back on straight. If we know that the stock market is insanely overvalued because it's deriving value, the stock market itself is a derivative. Okay. That might be shocking to some people to hear, but I've been telling people this for many, many years now, that it derives value from the debt market. What the debt market is doing is going to dictate what the value of the stock market is as a whole. Okay. If we realize the debt market is a hyper bubble beyond belief, and it is, there's not even a word that we can come up with right now as being artificially propped up. If we realize that that is going to be taken down by design, we're going to see rates spike in an uncontrolled fashion that's going to melt down stock markets around the world to their fair value at one particular time. So what's the fair value for, let's say, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is like, what, 37,000, whatever it is today? I don't know. It's probably somewhere around a 6,000 or 8,000. That's my view. These companies that are in the Dow have value. They produce things. Okay, so they do have some value. People say the stock market's worth zero. That's not true. These are companies that employ people, that do make products. They actually do have value. So the stock market's not worth zero. So let's say the bottom for the Dow is 8,000. I believe we're going to get a 1-to-1. I've been telling people for the longest time, gold Dow 1-to-1, gold Dow 1-to-1, silver, gold 15, 10-to-1. So that's how I come up with my value of where I think gold and silver will be. You can't just make a statement and say, well, gold is overvalued or undervalued, or whatever it might be. You have to be able to back it up. I say it's undervalued based on looking at the Dow gold ratio. The Dow gold ratio is a real thing. I didn't make this up. I'm not that smart. I urge people to look this stuff up. I'm just aware of it. Most people aren't aware that there is a Dow gold ratio or gold silver ratio. Right now, these numbers are so, again, completely detached from reality, but that's where we're gonna end up being. Gold and silver massively underowned, cryptocurrencies massively underowned, and that means there's a massive, potential for unbelievable growth moving forward, and that's where we're gonna go. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Now, we've been expecting a false flag now for some time. Would a cyber attack be literally the golden goose to solve the tyrants' problems or their agenda goals?
Oh, we're gonna. This whole war is a false flag, and the thing that's and it's just the mechanism to pull more cash into the now. I think we're in a little bit of a lull here. I've called a couple of these false flags almost to the day. If you follow my blog, because they warn about, they give us all warnings. I'm not smarter than anybody else. So I just pay attention to what's going on. I don't, are we going to see one anytime soon? We have this presidential selection cycle that we're in the United States right now. And I think they're going to try to keep it quiet for a while. I think there's a very high probability that after the president is selected, and it is a selection, it's not an election, where we could potentially see things change dramatically in the United States and around the world because of that. And I want people to be ready for the transition here into moving into 2025. I think there's a large potential for things to change dramatically. Cyber attacks, everything else you could think about. Like I said, deceptions, distractions, get a reason for people to back more war, more death, more pain, more suffering, more hatred, because that's what they want to do. That's how they keep their control over all of us, and control is what it's all about.
Definitely. Now, Russia and the US are confiscating each other's funds recently. Can this be enough to panic foreign investors in each of the respective countries?
You know what? Let me just raise the volume of my hair because I missed half of your question. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that Russia and the US have been confiscating each other's money recently. But is this enough to spook investors from the respective countries to pull their funds? Can this cause the panic?
I don't think right now. But again, I think this is a problem that we're going to see moving forward as well. Look, this whole thing is about, bonds and debt. And people don't understand that at all. They look at things in terms of dollars or euros or whatever it might be. And it's really not. It's about the debt market. Again, this is why you ask me what I do every day. And that's why I look at the action over there. But there's no doubt in my mind that all this stuff, look, I think I wouldn't do this, okay, but I'm not saying it's that if people want to do this, I've been telling people this for like, I don't know, a few months now. If you are someone that is wants to own debt right now, for now, and this is going to change dramatically, would be a time to maybe put some money to work in the debt market. Now, when I say that, I mean very short-term debt that you can roll over and then roll over every month or so, as opposed to holding long-term debt is a losing endeavor here. Holding a dollar long-term or a euro or a central bank issued note is a losing endeavor. Why? Because central banks are in a race to the bottom. Central banks are sucking the purchasing power out of the currency, and central banks are not going to stop doing that. I mean, I posed a question earlier on my blog. I sent this out to everyone. And last time I looked at it, it was like 98% of the people believe that central banks are going to continue to devalue their currency. I guess there's 2% or 3% that don't think so. And maybe they're deluded or something's wrong with them, but there's no way out of this. This is what they're going to do moving forward. So, and I don't like debt, being that, central banks issue nothing but debt. I don't like to be in a debt unit. I want to be in a wealth unit. And that, again, if you want to weigh those out, is going to be gold and silver, or even copper. Someone asked me this morning about copper. Hey, Greg, you like copper? I own copper too. This is just one piece. I own a bunch of it. It's hard to keep because it's big, but gold is really easy. Silver is relatively simple to keep. Just keep betting against the dead, people. Becoming your own central bank. That means holding hard assets. Do the opposite of what our loving, caring representatives want you to do, and what central bankers want you to do, and you're going to be okay. If you do what they want you to do, you're done. Period.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the, let's turn that off. There we go. But back to the COPO.
That's right, the COPO.
But speaking of the dollar bill, there we go. Who would be behind such an idea like this on the dollar bill?
Yeah.
And would they most likely be involved in some kind of global enslavement death cult?
Doesn't it look like that? Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny. I brought this up to people and I've shown that to people. I was in medicine for a while, as you probably know. Yeah. And I pulled out $1 and I showed that to one of the nurses I was working with. And she goes, "Is that on every dollar?" She was an adult. She was a nurse. And I was like, "Yes." And she actually had to go in her pocket and pull it out and look at it. She went, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Oh, well, what does that tell you?" I mean, to me, this is quite obvious, okay, that there are the ruling few up on the top and everybody else underneath is going to be subservient. That's what if you look at symbols, that's what this symbol says to me, period, the freaking end. And this mechanism here, it's central banks at the top of the pyramid. They control everything. Central banks control even the flow of information. Henceforth, why? You turn on CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business. They're reading the same script.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. And I do this specifically. I flip through the channels all day long. And when I hear a common theme, okay, I say, hold on a minute. Let's see what their CNBC is saying. Let's see what Bloomberg is saying. And invariably, it's the same thing at the same time. It freaks me out. Look, I've been telling people for years, the truth is always hidden in plain sight. Like that thing, that emblem, the symbol you just showed me. She goes, "Is that on every dollar bill?" What? You've been transacting in these for your whole freaking life and you don't know? This is how oblivious people are.
Yeah. That's crazy. Do we have a lot of corporate loans for big businesses up for renewal this year?
Corporate loans. Oh, corporate debt. I wouldn't want to own corporate debt right now. There are some people that do. I wouldn't want to hold any corporate debt. I think if you look at the situation, look, the system itself is being, let me rephrase that. There may be some corporations I would consider. I don't like to own debt at all. Okay.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with it pretty much. So, but if you were to own corporate debt, you'd have to be very, very selective here. But for the most part, because I know I'm going to get some feedback about this, because I know some people really do. In fact, some of my friends like to invest in corporate debt, and if they're going to watch this, they're going to think I'm crazy. But I believe that yes, there may be some corporate debt you'd want to own, but in all, no, I wouldn't want to own corporate debt here. I think you got to be nuts to own any kind of debt right now in this environment. I want to be in anti-debt. I don't want to be, I don't even want to think about debt. I hate it. I hate even the word, because the word itself projects, it's like a symbol. The word itself is a symbol of enslavement, kind of like that symbol on the dollar bill. Words can be a symbol too. If you look at a particular offensive word, can't offend anybody these days, but there are some words that are offensive. People look at it. The word can be construed as a symbol too. There are certain symbols like read between the line. You know what I mean? There's a lot of symbols out there. The whole world is driven by symbols and images, and it's an amazing thing. It's a whole other language in many ways. Symbols, but symbols have been around since the beginning of time here.
Yeah.
The crucifix being a symbol. I mean, there are all kinds of symbols out there. But anyway, but no, I find the word debt just to be a symbol itself of enslavement. Anyone who unfortunately is in that and knows exactly what I am talking about. I ran a poll yesterday, and I found this so disturbing. Well, I don't have it here, but more than 75% of people who responded, had over 4,000 people who responded, said that their lifestyle has been affected by the current inflationary environment. 75%. And I think it's just a matter of time before the rest is, even the people that are well off or doing better than most are feeling the pinch. Everybody's feeling the pinch right now. And then, of course, you got the propaganda. Oh, it's getting better. Oh, inflation is coming down. As a matter of fact, Biden said that. Biden said that recently, that he said it multiple times, that inflation is coming down, because he thinks people, either he's really not very smart, or he thinks you're not very, very smart. We know that inflation continues to rise. But again, they have to float these little things out, because maybe they'll convince people that what they're seeing is not real. And that's what they always do. Oh, no. What you're seeing with your own eyes, oh, that's not real. It's what we're telling you. That's the truth, not what you're seeing. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. Now, we've discussed, and you've discussed prior, that the interest rates have been going higher and higher, but there has been promises that there will be a reversal on that. Now, at the point of a pivot on the interest rates, will the people be worse off because of a weakened currency?
Of course. What's going to happen here is it's going to maintain the illusion of the market. And a few other reasons. They're cutting rates because, look, a central bank power resides in only one thing, and that's their ability to issue debt. For a central bank to suppress rates, they have to get into the market. They can't just say it. They're not magical. They don't have godlike power. They have to add digits to a screen and buy the debt, which is inflationary. Okay. But what this will do, and what it's meant to do, is by keeping rates suppressed, it opens up a doorway for cash to make its way into risk assets or inflate the stock market. The illusion of the market is very powerful. I've been telling people this, I don't know, for 10 years now, that if people see a high stock market, they think the economy is strong. There is no correlation at all between where the market is and where the economy is. As a matter of fact, I've told people the faster that the economy free falls, the higher the stock market is going to go. And this phenomenon has played out exactly that way. So central banks, it's already started with the Swiss National Bank. We're going to get the European Central Bank to do it next, and the Federal Reserve is going to follow suit here. And we're going to see more suppression here of rates, more currency devaluation moving forward, the illusion of the markets. And who's going to pay the price? Well, people are going to pay the price, as they always do, unfortunately.
Now, every secret code machine over history has been cracked and hacked. Maybe like the Enigma machines from
Enigma, yeah. It's funny that you said that, because that was the first thing that popped in.
Do you think crypto will remain secure in time?
Look, secure. I think this is a relative term. What I mean, is it possible that they could come into your house and confiscate everything that you have in your physical possession? Absolutely. Security itself is an illusion. What are we really secure in? We're not even secure in our own lives. We could be taken at any moment. So you know, and look, there are assets that may be considered safer than others. Okay, with regard to risk and safety level, I would say that cryptocurrency probably isn't the safest place to be. I think again, that's my favorite asset of all time. It's in my hand. Someone's gonna have to pull that out of my dead hand. Sure, this stuff can be it's hacked. Anything electronic can be hacked. The system itself is hackable, of course. But you know, look, unless you have something in your physical possession, even with that, there is risk. So you have to weigh it out. You have to weigh out risk versus reward in everything that you do in life. All right, should I turn left or should I turn right? Should I have 2 cups of coffee? Should I have one? You know, whatever. Should I drag race or not? And you gotta weigh risk. You know, drag racing, obviously going, you know, at the speeds I'm going, ain't exactly the safest thing to do in the world. But you know what? I have to do it. I don't know the way to put it.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like it. So final thing today, you know, is the cost of living is increasing. Should people be stockpiling things like food and goods required for survival?
Absolutely, man. People need to do that. People need to look, you know, we need to be able to sustain ourselves, and that's where it comes down to coming together as a community. Okay, we need to come together as a community. I have friends that I know that I can, even my own neighbors here, that I can rely on, that are growing their own food, and so I got to learn to do that. Honestly, myself, I have an area in the back of my house that I could, and I believe me, I've been thinking about starting my own garden. I tried to do it when I was in Vegas, but I killed it. I couldn't grow them. I tried, and it was very hard to grow stuff out there. Maybe it'll be different here in Florida. Unfortunately, I was so disappointed. My plants are dying. I know what I was doing wrong. You know, I think it's something that requires a lot of research. It's not just that I learned something trying to grow my own garden. It's not as easy as just planting things. You
No.
got to take care. You got to know how to nurture these things. And I was oblivious. Hey, I'm going to grow things. And at first it was great. And then they didn't last. And obviously it was something I did, not to poor plants. But, you know, obviously people need to sustain themselves here and make those right alliances with people, you know, and be willing to barter for things too. You know, if you have something that you can, you know, offer your services to people, you know, look, you know, we could change the world. I'm going to tell you right now, by doing one good thing, even per week, for someone maybe that you don't even know. It's really the truth here. This was part of a thing I started a while back called Emanon. You know, make a commitment to do one good thing per week. For maybe some of you don't know your neighbors. You see your neighbors, bush needs trimming. You know, go do that or something. Don't even make them know about it. I mean, when I was in Vegas, I can give you an example of that. When I was in Vegas, I was living next to an elderly couple, and they had a tree that had fallen over. And and it was there for days. And although they had young children that would visit, they didn't fix it. They just left it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go fix that guy's tree. So I went over there and I propped it up and I fixed it. Didn't tell him I was going to do it. I just did it because I just thought it was the right thing to do. I wasn't even really friendly with them. As a matter of fact, they didn't even speak English. They spoke like Taiwanese or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I fixed the tree. It was beautiful. A couple of days go by. They show up at my house with one of their children who was translating. And they were so thankful that I had done that. And they brought me all these different soaps. I didn't ask for it. I just wanted to do something good for somebody. And I believe if we all would do something like that for each other and realize that we're not each other's enemies, this world could change like this. Like this, we could change the world.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's my take on it.
Yeah, we've just set up now and started a freeze-dried company here for freeze-dried food with long-term storable and stuff. And
Awesome.
we were
Good
hashing
stuff.
out, yeah, we were hashing out what we were going to call it. Anyway, you like this because it's a play on words. We eventually settled on the company name being Freeze Beach.
I like this. You know, I like it, man.
So anyone reading it, it might drop the penny as they think of the word free speech, but there we go. It's all there. So anyway, many thanks again, Greg. Where can people see all your best work? Certainly on track with the car and on track with finances.
Yeah, you know, I'm easy to find. Just Google me, go to my website or something. I'm an easy guy to find.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Greg. It's always, as you know, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. You know, it's been my daily routine for a long time. You know, I'm still, I don't know whether you can see that. I'm still in the paper side. There's your old
Me too.
The Politics of Money.
Oh my God, you got that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is amazing. That is
That's
amazing that you
on the
have
camera
that.
properly. There we go. Politics of Money by Gregory Mannarino.
I don't even think you can get these anymore.
No, do you know what? I picked this up probably, what would that have been, like 2012, something like that?
It was a while back. It was a while
Yeah.
back. I can't, you know, you want to hear something? I don't even have a single copy anymore. I kept giving away my copies. Oh, I can't get this, Greg. Oh, don't worry, I have a copy. Then I realized I don't even have one, not even one copy of it anymore. And I think if you try to get them, if you try to get these things, they're probably marked up the price a lot. Just wait. You know, you might be able to find one of these cheap. I've seen some people, some of my publications that have been out for a while, $200, $300. I think these people are nuts. These were like $12 when they initially came out.
Yeah.
I find that I don't know. I find it disturbing that people are kind of like marking stuff up like that. That's crazy, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, maybe it's time for a reprint. Maybe, maybe
I don't know, man. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Greg. It's been absolutely great. You know,
You
please
too, bro.
keep in touch. We'll
And
keep
everybody.
chatting. We'll keep sharing. Everyone watching this today, get this out there. The information within this, you know, this podcast today is absolutely golden. And the more you share it, the more people realize exactly what they can do to save themselves and put themselves in a better position. So thanks again, Greg. It's been marvelous. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. I'll get you the link over. If we can get that shared, that'll be fantastic.
I will do. You take care, everybody. Remember, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.